Cari amici, buongiorno, benvenuti ad un approfondimento da Orlando. Vi avevo promesso che avremmo incontrato degli amici innovatori and so let me introduce our Scottish American innovator. The friend is Dave Hutchelson, who live here in Orlando based, Florida based, and this story uh, happen in your first life in Great Britain when you were a soldier.
Yes.
And for this reason, the theme of this conversation in English, but it's a great pleasure listen him because British has another English because he's American too. About the theme is robotic therapy, and so innovation for medicine, because your story as a trooper, as a few doctor and much more engineer. Explain why.
Yes. Well, thank you, Massimo. So, as Massimo said, my name's Dave Hutchison. I was born in Scotland, and when I was young, I was a paratrooper in a reserve unit. And when I was about 20, another soldier came through my parachute, and I hit the ground very hard. I just managed to get him out of the parachute before I hit the ground. The ground was soft, so that probably saved my life, but I had back pain for my entire life. Excuse me. So I'm an electronics engineer by profession. I trained as a satellite communications engineer.
And I can add that now it's incredible story because I met Dave last days in Fort Lauderdale, and when he explained me this situation and then sent me a mail, for me it was unbelievable that your story, because you are very is very energetic and look younger than that you are.
Yeah, that's from my mother. Yes,
Your
genetics.
Genetics for me too, for my grandmother
Right.
and mother. Okay,
Yeah.
listen, the story is very interesting.
So I worked for the British government, a group called Cable and Wireless. So I was a satellite communications engineer, and I worked all over the world, in the Middle East and in the Falklands and various locations, including the Caribbean. So I worked on very large satellite antennas. They were 100 foot in diameter, 30 meters, and they weighed about 400 tons. So I had to have a good knowledge of mechanical systems, and that was one of the things that, as I'll describe later on, that helped me when I was very seriously injured. So I spent 10 years overseas, and then I met my wife, and she's American. So we settled down in Melbourne in Florida, and I spent the next 15 years traveling all over the world, in China, Taiwan, Malaysia, Chile, Romania, various places. The last 7 years were in Nigeria, and I contracted malaria after 7 years, and it was very, very bad indeed. So we came to the States to recover, and the malaria had tightened up my muscles, and I had this old injury in the base of my spine which I didn't know about from when the other soldier came through my parachute. So a disc herniated at the base of my spine at L4, L5, and it was very bad indeed.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was, the pain was horrific, and the doctor said they couldn't operate. So we eventually found a clinic in Orlando where they had a decompression machine, and these things are amazing. You lay on a table, and it gently stretches your spine according to what's called a logarithmic curve. It's a mathematical function. And what that did was it sucks the herniation back into the disc. So after 3 months, I was feeling a lot better, and I was actually looking forward to getting back to work. On the last day, the chiropractor said that he was going to do an adjustment on me. So he put me face down on a table and he put blocks under my pelvis. And what he was supposed to do was press down on my sacrum. So this is the triangle at the base of the spine where the tailbone is. Well, my wife said that when he pushed down, he slipped. And what he did was he ripped this joint apart and it caused massive damage. And within minutes of that happening, I ended up like this. So to cut a long story short, people who ran the clinic covered everything up. That's a whole separate story. So we went to various doctors and they couldn't tell me what had been done to me. And none of them could figure this out. I knew that the disc had been damaged again.
The focus. That's the focus.
Yes.
And so, in 2 minutes, explain, please, that where the doctors didn't arrive an engineer.
Yes. So, basically, what I decided to do was, because they said I'd be paralyzed from the waist down and I would never walk again, because I'm an engineer, I understood mechanical systems, but I didn't have any medical knowledge. So I bought medical books on neurology, anatomy, spinal surgery, etc. I taught myself Spanish from telenovelas and the TV, to learn a bit of Latin, to learn the names of 600 muscles in the human body. So, todos mis vecinos son de Puerto Rico, de la República Dominicana, y hablo con ellos todos los días. But the only reason I learned the Spanish was to learn the Latin, to learn the names of the muscles. So, I go back to the doctors, I tell them it's the sacroiliac joint. They still wouldn't believe me. So, 6 months in, I'm curled up in pain, my hands have contracted, my feet, and I'm getting ready to get my right leg amputated. By a bizarre coincidence, just a brilliant coincidence, I come across an inventor in Tampa called Al, and he developed a therapeutic robot, and that is the device that saved my leg from being amputated.
And so the solution is in Tampa with the robotic therapy.
Yes.
In 1 minute, your life now. For me, it's incredible because I verified. It's
Yes.
very incredible your quality of life. But please explain to our friends which is a robotic therapy.
Yes, so the guy that invented this device, I have one at home, he was a robotics engineer for General Electric, and he developed the first artificial vision systems for robots. So he had an injury himself, and he was already working on robots. So he got a grant from NASA, Martin Marietta, which is now Lockheed Martin, the Department of Energy, to develop this. And he had to show it could do what no human being could do. So it was divided into 2 parts, the tests. First of all, he was able to be 300 times more efficient than a regular therapist, but more importantly, he could take scar tissue, which is randomly angled, and realign the fibers, and that's how he got the grant from NASA.
E allora, dopo queste parole che abbiamo ascoltato, che penso abbiate compreso da questo inglese splendido, veramente è stato un piacere ascoltarti. It was a great pleasure listen your story.
Thank you,
Not
Massimo.
only for the success of your story, but for the dialogue, very clean, very
Thank you.
clear, and full of hope. Because for us as a foundation, innovation is very important. Improve the hope in people.
Yes.
We share this video, our life, our engagement for innovation. Innovation Foundation, and so in other words Dave è un nostro amico, quindi ci potrete contattare per trovare la soluzione parlando direttamente con lui e soprattutto operando con questa Robotic Therapy qui a Tampa. Grazie per la vostra attenzione. Ciao.
Ciao.